a parallax animation. As you can see here, it's just a little forest scene. The dimensions are 600 by 600. So we're going to start by setting up our Illustrator file to bring into After Effects to animate. Oop. Okay, so here is our Illustrator document. And let me show you the layers here. So the way this is set up is I have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers with artwork on them. We have this mountain scene. We have this grassy scene, second grassy scene with trees, and then some bushes. You'll notice I have these colored boxes that are numbered. What this is these boxes are all the same dimension as the screen that we're going to be dimensions that we're going to be working in After Effects with 600 by 600. And what we're going to do is you'll see that I set up the artwork. We'll start with the mountains. The mountains are only covering section 1 and section 2. This background image, which is this one lawn, is going to cover up section 1, 2, and 3. This middle section here covers section 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this section with the bushes covering up 1 through 5. So what we have here is we have these different layers that we're going to put into After Effects. And the animations are going to start and end at the same time. But the different layers, because of the way this is spaced out, we're going to have them move at different speeds, or I should say different tempos, really. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the front, where the bushes are, that layer will look like it's moving quicker than, say, the layer behind it here. So best thing to do is just set up the After Effects file and show you how to put this together, and it'll make much more sense. So let's go to After Effects. I will go to After Effects, set it up that file. You'll see I have this folder, File. I'm going to choose the landscape. So basically I'm going to my folder. I'm going to go to the images and choose landscape. And I'm going to make sure I set it to composition, retain layer styles, open. You see that here are all the layers. So then I'm going to set up my composition in After Effects. I'm going to say new comp. It's going to be 600 by 600 square pixels, 24 frames per second. That's good. It's going to set for 1 full minute. Say OK. Make sure I turn on my title action safe. OK. So I'm going to bring in the background. I'm going to bring in, actually I'm going to start with the mountains. I'm going to bring in this background. I'm going to bring in the middle and the front. Okay. So what I want to do, because the way I set this up, near the mountains, I'm going to take this, I'm going to set it up so my mountains, if I go into the position here, click on P, and instead I'm just going to go for, I think 5 seconds would be enough, really. So we'll make 5 seconds. And I'm going to go to the work area and close that for 5 seconds. So I'm only going to be working in that area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the position of the mountains and move them over to the right. So if I was to play that, it should look like the mountains are moving, and it would just repeat seamlessly. Okay. So you can see that the size of my mountain graphic is from there to there. Now I'm going to lock that, turn on the background landscape, bring that down to here and set that up so the front is there. Go to my position, turn that on. Turn this over to the right until we get to the end right there. Now, if I play that, it should look like, yeah, you can see that the forest is moving at a slightly different speed than the mountains. So you can kind of see where this is going to go. Turn on the middle. Bring that all the way over here. Turn on the position. Okay, and lastly, turn the bushes on, bring that down here. Set up the position for P. Start here. Bring that over to there. Okay, good. So what I want to do now is I want to, I notice the mountains are a little lower than I want in this layer for the background. It's a little lower than I want as well. Now here's a little tip trick I can show you. If I had already created the animation and created my keyframes and I'm happy with the way they work and I don't want to have to, if I move the position of, say, the mountains, see, it'll mess up, see how it's going to mess up the animation because it's already animated. So that's no good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a null object. And if I hook my mountains to the null object, and then I change the position of the null object, now unlink the null object. Now the mountains will still animate the way they did before without any change in the keyframes because I used a null to actually move the position a second time. So I can see that I also want to bring this back around. Change position of the null again, bring it up again, like that. Like that. Yeah. So now that composition looks a little cleaner. And get rid of the null. Now if I test it. So we got a nice, smooth, seamless animation. Now if I want to change the speed of everything, I can simply let's say I wanted to make this animation maybe only 3 seconds. Excuse me. Now you see that it's happening a little faster. All right, and that's basically it. Now one last thing I can add is a background color. So to do that, I would go to my File, New, or excuse me, I can go to Layer, New Shape Layer. Oops. Try that again. Layer, New, Solid. It can be any color because what I want to do is add a gradient to it. The way I do that is I go to the Effects and Presets panel and I type in the word ramp. And I get this pops up, says gradient ramp. I'm going to pop that onto the background. I'm going to go over to here, the color palette. I'm going to change this to a nice light blue. And I'm going to change the black to a darker blue. And then if I zoom in closely here, you can see this little right there will change the gradient. Whoops. Change the gradient a little bit. And then maybe go to the bottom one and pull that down a little bit. There we go. That looks nice. Take that layer, which is my background, and put it behind. There we go. Now, let's see, bring that back up. And that's it.